Let's talk with your host, Reggie B. Come on, let's all join in. Free your voice, it's your choice, all right here. Ooh, Simply Stray Talk.
Good morning. How are you two doing today?
I'm doing great.
And I'm doing greater.
You're doing greater? What does that even mean?
He asked me how I was doing, and I answered.
Okay, let's take a step back so we can process everything calmly together.
You know what? I apologize. I will continue to be the bigger person despite somebody else's attitude.
That's so sweet. Only if you were bigger at being a man when it comes to your responsibilities as a husband.
Well, maybe you should be a little more supportive, dear.
Well, I'm sorry I'm not supportive enough for you, honey.
Thank you for acknowledging that, boo.
You're welcome, lame. I meant love. Anyway, I understand what it's like to not be satisfied. But fortunately, Vibe always gets the job done, and of course, it's bigger where I need it.
You are so damn disrespectful.
And you're so damn petty.
Okay, time out. First, as a reminder, insults are not going to get us anywhere. It's also important to remember that you're both here to work on your marriage. So let's focus on things that we can discuss and start building a bridge of healing.
No problem.
That's fine. I can do that.
Okay, Melissa, can you tell me something about Reggie that you love about him from the beginning up to now?
The beginning was so sweet. But to be honest, he pays attention to me and tries to learn about me. He does have this quiet disposition, but if anybody disrespects me, he always came to my defense, and he is so comforting. Since we've been together, I've never pumped gas, taken out the trash, or had to worry about one thing in the house being fixed.
Seems he has some excellent qualities that you really love about him.
I can't deny that. You're right.
So, Reggie, how does that make you feel?
Actually, I feel really good.
That's good. So you can tell me something about Melissa that you love about her from the beginning up to now.
Okay, well, when I first met her, I knew she was the one. The way she talked to me, her go-get-it attitude. With her, I don't have to worry about other men. I never come home or go to work without a good meal, and she makes sure that I eat right. No matter how my days go, she knows how to motivate me no matter what. She is my ride or die. I have seen chicks get choked out for being out of pocket with me.
Aww. Thank you.
As I listen to you two, it appears you have some great qualities and traits most people would love to have in their relationship. I'm awestruck myself, and other people would love to be in your shoes.
So, Doc, are you trying to flirt with my woman on the sly?
I am wondering the same thing because we are not here for that.
No, that's not what I'm communicating or my intention at all.
Look here, Doc. This is my woman. And I can't believe you sitting here talking about how you're all awestruck and would love to be in our shoes. Are you trying to be low-key about wanting her good goods?
No, I think you're misunderstanding.
Oh, now we understand. You're sitting here like someone who knows it all and pretending like you're trying to save our marriage. But the truth is, you're a homewrecker. But let me tell you something. You will never get this or come between me and my man because we will drop these bowls on you in your office.
Well, come on, Doc. Knock if you buck then. What's up?
You heard my man. What's up? I'll ride with my boo.
Okay, I think we're done. Thank you for coming. Please, you can leave now. Have a good day.
We always have a good day. Let's go, baby. I don't know what we were thinking coming here in the first place. Ain't nothing wrong with this relationship.
That's right, my queen. I don't know why this fool trying to test us. He must not know who we are.
I'll tell you why. He was eating out of our soup bowl with a spoon because he let a whole lot of information drip through the cracks of the fork about us.
It never fails. Crazy people and crazy love are always attracted to each other. Grace, tell the security to put them on the property ban list.
Hello to every one of our Simply Straight Talk listeners. Are you ready to free your mind and free your voice? Well, you're listening to the right podcast. So let's get this real talk started with your host, Reggie Maddox.
Hey everybody, and thank you for joining us here on this beautiful day. Man, we're going to talk about some marriage counseling and why does it fail. You know, we all go through relationships, you know what I'm saying? Different types, whether it be dating, friends. But when people decide they're going to go see a marriage therapist now, when you're married and you feel like you either want to kind of get a head start on this thing or you just starting to have problems and you want to see if somebody can help you talk your way through them. Now we're talking about why does it fail? Why does it not always work? Now, some people will say, counseling never works. Well, I don't agree with that. I think there are some reasons that counseling doesn't work. And I think there are some reasons that it does work. So we want to talk about today is why does marriage counseling fail? Why do people go to a marriage counselor and end up getting divorced or breaking up months or weeks later, sometimes the next day? But we're going to discuss that, man. I'm going to give you some reasons why I feel this happens. Now, I want to say this. My title of this show is Why Does Marriage Counseling Fail? I am not saying that I don't believe in marriage counseling. I'm not saying that you should not participate in marriage counseling. But what I want to do is lay down some guidelines so you can understand that if you are going to see a marriage counselor or a marriage therapist, I want you to understand some of the things that needs to take place because there's a certain mindset that you need to have. There's research that you need to do. Now, it's not always extensive research like you're trying to start a business, but your relationship is a part of you. And if you really want to save your marriage, then there are things you need to consider if you're going to get involved or go through the process of marriage counseling. Like I said, I am not saying you should not attend. I'm not saying that marriage counseling is a bad thing. You got to realize something. Marriage counseling is two humans, okay? It's humans trying to help humans. And one human in particular trying to understand the other's humans. So you have emotions, you got feelings, you got beliefs. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff plays a part. So all this stuff is very important when it comes to actually determining if marriage counseling is going to work for you. And I think it can. And that's why I want to use this time today, use this show, and we're going to go through some reasons why marriage counseling fail. You could be someone out there right now who's in a relationship, you love your mate, your marriage may be going through a rocky time right now, and you probably need some help. If you're thinking about marriage counseling, or maybe you haven't considered marriage counseling, I want to give you some advice on some of the things you should look for and think about for that process. Now, as we get into this, I want you to know that this is meant to help, not deter, okay? It's meant to help. But today we are going to talk about why marriage counseling fails. Now, many people who attend the process of marriage counseling may not stay together. While some marriages are able to benefit from marriage counseling, we have to wonder, why is it that other marriages fail? Now, first, as I said earlier, I want to say that I don't think marriage counseling is a bad thing. I do feel it can be beneficial under the right circumstances. So, in some cases, people think you can just sit down with someone, get all the answers to your problems, and your marriage is going to be perfect again. They're going to fix everything in 30 minutes into an hour. Okay? Then on the other hand, you might have a counselor and you might say, well, you know what? They got a bunch of letters behind their name. So, and they're going to give us all the answers. They're going to tell my husband that he's the bad one. He's the problem and he don't know what he needs to do. And he needs to listen to me and he's an idiot and he should just do everything I say and listen to all of my ideas. And we know that's not how it works either. Marriage counseling is about understanding both parties and figuring out what is it going to take to make the relationship work. And that means identifying problems not only with the man, but with the female. You know what I'm saying? Both parties have to identify what are the issues. What is it that you're doing that may be causing a problem between you and your mate? So that's why, You know, a lot of people get into marriage counseling and they just totally have the wrong idea. They go in with the wrong mindset. Okay, it's not a 1 hour fix where your problem's going to be fixed in 30 minutes to an hour. And it's not a counseling session to where they're going to validate everything you feel is wrong with your mate and you're going to be the angel in the situation. And that goes for the man or the woman. Okay, now there's a good reason marriage counseling doesn't work, because according to an article by William Doherty in the Professional Journal Psychotherapy Networker, you know, he actually stated that couples therapy may be the hardest form of therapy, and most therapists aren't good at it at all. You know, and I can understand that because it's tough. It's a difference between dealing with friends than dealing with a marriage. So let's just discuss some reasons why marriage counseling may fail. Number one, selecting the wrong marital therapist. Now, this is just my opinion, but just because a person may be a licensed counselor or therapist, it doesn't mean they are trained to deal with marriage. And, you know, and it really worries me when a therapist says, I have a lot of experience dealing with relationships. Well, counseling a married couple is not the same as counseling friends or family. You know what I'm saying? Counselors who aren't trained in marital therapy don't come up with a diagnosis, but they always want to work on symptoms. And most common symptom they want to try to work on is communication. And they're hoping that things work themselves out. And they sort of give you like vague tasks to do. You know, it's like go out together, you know, one night a week, give each other more compliments, listen, but try not to argue. You know, this stuff might work for a few weeks or a few months, but if the underlying issues aren't addressed, the problems are going to resurface. They're going to resurface because some therapists overlook what has changed in a relationship, and that's the key. What has changed to cause this relationship to fall apart? Think about it. If a couple got along for 10 years, but things have started to go downhill in the last 5 years, the therapist has to go back 5 years into the relationship and figure out what happened, what changed, what took place, because that is going to lead them to where the problem is now. So you have to be able to dig into a relationship. And someone who's just trying to deal with surface levels or just say it's communication because a couple is arguing for a reason. A couple is not listening to each other for a reason. So you have to be able to go further back into the relationship to discover and find out what changed. So you need the right therapist. You need the right therapist who actually knows how to get into the relationship and not just say you're not communicating, you're not listening. Next is feelings and wounds are too deep. I think this is when couples, you know, just basically reach a point of no return. When a relationship experiences infidelity, deceit, poor decisions that result in like career or financial setbacks, you know, or even deferring a person's goals. Although the person may stick through it, it doesn't mean that they're happy, and occasionally that strong resentment can erupt like a volcano, man, because by the time the decision is made to utilize a marriage counselor, you know, it's pretty much a last resort. And one or both parties have decided that no matter what, we're done. You know, and another factor is openly discussing these issues could result in an all-out verbal onslaught, which accomplishes nothing. Not to mention how some people take it to another level when they get home, which further complicates the counseling session. Because you have to remember, man, when you're dealing with wounds that people have carried for years, hurt, emotions, when a person feels like they sacrificed something and got nothing back, you know, when you're dealing with these wounds and you're carrying them internally, you know, it's hard for some people to get past that. And it just gets to the point where they become detached. You know, they're not affectionate. They're not sentimental. You know, they're not empathetic or sympathetic towards their mate at all. The feelings and wounds are too deep, and honestly, they're just too hurt to see anything past it. And a therapist will have to dig into that. The next thing is failure to disclose all the details. Now listen, we all know that everyone has their own beliefs on who should know the details of their problems. And a person may feel embarrassed to share the information about their marriage, especially in the areas of like sexual problems, especially for men. Men do not want to admit that they're having sexual problems in the bedroom. but maybe a person is hiding something they don't want to be exposed during the counseling session, because counseling only works if the details have been revealed to provide the best diagnosis. And when you don't disclose the full details of your problems, it's like being angry and giving your partner the silent treatment and not telling them why. They can't help or comfort you because they are not in the know. And that is the problem. When you're dealing with a marriage counselor and people don't expose everything that's going on, they're only giving tidbits of information. And, the therapist, they're trying to pull teeth to get to the root of the problem, but you're not saying, the husband's not saying, you know what I'm saying? It just sets the relationship up for failure, because eventually it's going to break down and it's just not going to work, and it's a tough scenario. But that's the thing. It's like when you're participating in marriage counseling, you have to be willing to expose the details of your relationship. You have to be able to say, listen, we're having problems sexually. You know what? I feel she cheated. Or it may be a man or a woman that's in love with somebody else and simply don't know how, to say that I've lost feelings from my wife. So they don't really give the counselor a chance to fix the situation. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, sometimes a person could have done something years ago and don't know how to express it. And they don't want to do it with the counselor. It's tough. It's tough. It's tough to sit in front of somebody and pour out all the flaws or all the mistakes that you made about your relationship. But if you're going to go to a marriage therapist, you have to share that information. You have to put that information out. If you don't, then you're basically setting your own relationship up for failure, because you cannot be helped. And this goes back to, sometimes people go and see counselors, but they don't want to actually, expose the wounds, because they know if they say what they really feel, that the other person is going to be hurt, and the person may already be hurt, and they just don't want to deal with that. Marriage counseling can be very beneficial, but it's only beneficial if you're willing to do what needs to be done. So far we talked about selecting the wrong marital therapist. We talked about feelings and wounds are too deep in a relationship. And we talked about failure to disclose all the details. And, it's like marriages are not meant to be hard. And I know everybody say marriages take work. Look, marriages just simply take honesty. Marriages take devotion. They take endurance. And people want to say it takes work. No, it takes honesty, devotion, and endurance. And many people don't want to do the honesty. They don't want to do the devotion. And they really don't want to deal with endurance, because they simply want what they want. But what we're going to do is we're going to take a quick break, and we're going to come right back, and we're going to talk about, another thing that people do, and that's how they cause their marriage to fail by not participating in marriage counseling the right way. So you guys stick with us. We'll be right back right after the break.
We'll be back with your host, Reggie, on Simply Straight Talk.
Hey, this your man Reggie here. Are you looking for some fresh new music? Are you looking for an artist that's got that positive vibe and that positive flow, that knows how to flow lyrically? Then man, you need to check out Tone G Music with songs like Buzzing, Good Deeds, and Pick Up the Phone. Now these songs are available on Apple Music and other digital platforms. Tone G brings that positive vibe in everything he does. And the music he brings with the reggae style and that smooth lyrical flow, oh, you know what to do. Y'all check out Tone G Music.
We hope you're enjoying the show. As our listeners, this show is made possible because of your support. Make sure you click the subscribe button and leave a comment. Thank you for being a part of the show, and now back to your host, Reggie Maddox.
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Simply Straight Talk Show. This is your host, Reggie Matters, man, and today we're talking about why marriage counseling fails. Why does it fail? Why is it that when people do marriage counseling, it just doesn't seem to work out? Well, at the top of the show, we gave you a couple reasons why marriage counseling fails. We talked about people being too hurt by the time they get to the actual counselor. We talked about people not actually disclosing all the information about their relationship to the counselor. We talked about people choosing the wrong marriage counselor or therapist. Now, one thing we want to talk about is kind of hint on just a little bit is, people avoiding therapy before the marriage. Now, many people think premarital counseling is a waste of time, or just a preliminary step to the marriage. So people don't really take it serious. Like when people do premarital counseling, sometimes they will just kind of go through the motions. Like, okay, we're just doing this just to get into it. They don't really take it serious. They don't really, get into the depths of who they are, because premarital counseling is about understanding your behaviors, understanding your patterns, understanding your beliefs, your traditions, and how you're going to unite that with somebody else. But counseling is always about getting to know you, understanding you, because until you do that, you cannot tie yourself to somebody else. So that's why I think premarital counseling is good. But like I said, some people don't take it seriously. Some couples will actually go through a premarital counseling session and they'll portray themselves as this happy, perfect couple just to get to the wedding day. It's unfortunate, but people are more excited about the wedding than they are about the longevity of their relationship. Now, this process in counseling can be very helpful, but only if you're willing to be honest and open about where you were and where you are in order to have a stronger, realistic marriage. It goes without saying that secrets in love will lead you to divorce. Come on now, y'all know what I'm talking about. But right now, what I really want to do real quick is just kind of I want to go over some things that if you are in the process of thinking about a therapist or marriage counseling, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe you just want to, tie up some loose ends. You want to make sure that your marriage is strong, that you're staying on the right path. So marriage counseling is not a bad thing. I want you to understand that. Everything I'm telling you is to help you to understand that, things you need to do, things you need to think about before going to a counselor, so you can make sure that you're giving them everything that they need to really help you. And also that you're selecting the right counselor or therapist for your situation. Now, the thing about it is this. We all want to have that happy marriage, but we understand that problems will occur. A therapist can help you kind of deal with those problems. And sometimes having an outside voice to an active listener, and that's the key, an active listener can help you get over the situation. Now, here's this. When selecting a therapist, here are some things that I think you should consider and do. First, you need to ask the therapist about their background and specify the type of counseling you're seeking. If you're seeking marriage counseling, make it clear that you're seeking marriage counseling. Okay? Don't just say, we're having communication issues. Don't just say, we don't get along well. Don't just say, he's a narcissist or she's overly flirtatious. Make it clear what the problem is, that yes, you are married. You are married. And the other thing is, are you looking to keep your marriage? Because the two, you need to be honest about that. That if you want this marriage to work, then you're going to be on full disclosure about your marriage. Second, ask them if they are married. Okay, because someone who has never been married may not be able to fully understand the marriage life. There's a big difference when you see marriage on TV, you see it on books, or you hear it from friends, than actually living it. Because there are little nuances to being married that a lot of people don't know about, because living with somebody for a couple months is not the same thing as being married and being tied to where, like I said earlier, when you separate, you're taking things with you, because legally now you have to divide your assets. Whereas if you're just dating and you break up, you just break up. So ask them if they're being married, because they will understand. I prefer to have someone who is married or has been married, because they have a little more of an understanding of what it is like to be married. Third, ask, do they include one-on-one sessions before moving into the couple sessions? Now, I say this because a good therapist wants to get a clear understanding and offer the opportunity to speak freely to each person individually. Whereas in a couple session, a person may be a little more restrained and hesitant to speak. In my personal opinion, it should always be do individual sessions first. Speak to the woman, speak to the man. You know what I'm saying? Do your individual sessions and then move into the couple sessions. Because I would do a minimum of at least 3 individual sessions before a couple sessions, because that helps the person become more relaxed. You have a better understanding where a person can speak freely. Then when you go into the couple session, now you can get a better idea. You got a better feel. You got a rapport with both parties. Okay? Because, I just think that's a smarter way to do it than because when you take 2 people and just put them in the same room and say, okay, let's talk, you're sort of like putting a person on one person may feel like they're on a hot plate. You know what I'm saying? So I really don't agree with just jumping into a full couple session from the start. Number 4, asking for their religious background should be considered as well. Now, I understand they don't have to tell you, but I'm going to tell you why I think that if you're choosing a marital therapist or counselor, you need to know what their religious background is. Because a person who is a Jehovah's Witness, a Buddhist, a Mormon, a Christian, a Muslim, or atheist will have different points of views on marriage and the roles of men and women in a relationship as well. Because you got to realize something. If me as a Christian is talking to someone who is a Mormon, there are going to be different beliefs. Whereas if I say that, well, she likes to have a glass of wine every night. Well, Mormons are not really into drinking. So that may trigger a red flag with him, because they may not intentionally, but ultimately I think you could find that their religious beliefs, especially if they are strong in their religion, could play into the counseling session. So now you're being counseled more based on what they believe religiously over what they're supposed to be doing as far as your relationship. So you need to have an understanding of what is their religious background, because that's always going to play a part. It's going to play a part in how they see things. Like I said, a Jehovah's Witness is going to see things one way, Buddhists, Mormons, Muslim. Each religion has its own way of kind of seeing things and a way the roles of men and women play out. So, and especially if they're atheists, and don't believe in God, but you are a couple that believe in God, if that's a factor where, say, the man believes in God and the woman don't, and he wants her to go to church, and that's sort of a problem in the relationship, but your counselor is an atheist, he's not going to really fit in that way, and it sort of puts a bind. So what do? Do you find a relationship counselor that's maybe has the same situation? See, those are the things you have to consider. You got to consider that. Do you not find a couple where the husband is an atheist, the woman is a believer, or do you do a marriage counseling with a therapy counselor that is actually married? And you do the counseling together as their counseling and your counseling. So you know what I'm saying? But basically, if it's a husband and wife getting counseling, it's a husband and wife therapist. It's a man and woman therapist. How do you do that? How do you proceed with that? That is why you have to think about these things when you go into marriage counseling, because ultimately it will determine how the counselor is going to respond to your problems, your concerns, your issues, and also it's going to determine how you respond to them, how connected, what is the rapport you establish, how comfortable you feel exposing your life to them. You got to consider these things. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back for the final thoughts for today's show.
We'll be right back, so keep it locked here with your favorite radio talk show.
RM Viaging is a company based on life's journey and sharing life lessons with the world in the form of laughter and reflection, inspiring people to go after their dreams and not giving up on life. RM Viaging creates inspirational music and motivational speeches designed to motivate all age groups. Visit our website at www.rmviaging.com to hear samples of our music. You will also find motivational articles on our blog page titled New Life, New Mind blog. We also have a weekly podcast hosted by Reggie called Simply Straight Talk, all on our website at www.rmviaging.com.
You're listening to the Simply Straight Talk Show, bringing you the best conversation on your morning, afternoon, and primetime drive.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the final thoughts of today's show. Man, today we talked about why marriage counseling fails. And I hope that from hearing some of the discussion today that you understand the importance that marriage counseling can have and that it can work. As long as you are going in as a willing participant, and as long as you do your research to make sure that you find out that you have the right therapist who has the experience, personal or professional, to be able to help you get through your troubles that you may be having or problems or concerns in your marriage. But the key thing is, regardless of the type of marriage counseling or personal counseling, whether it be relationship, communication, dealing with people, whatever concern or issues you're having, if you are going to see a counselor, make sure that you are fully open and you're disclosing all of the information relevant to your situation. Because if you don't reveal the details of what's going on within you, emotionally, mentally, physically, they can't help you. And as for counselors, if you're a marriage counselor, you need to be realistic and understand that if you are not fully trained or fully knowledgeable enough to really lead and guide a couple through the marriage counseling process, then refer them to someone who can. Refer them to someone who has that experience, who has that knowledge, who's able to go back and go through the history of a person's relationship and help them to be safe and to live and to have that marriage that they want. If you can do that, then do it. If you can't, send them to the right person. Marriage is a beautiful thing, and sometimes we all need help. We all need someone who's going to be unbiased, who can listen to both sides and give us honest, realistic life opinions, ideas, concepts to how to make it work. Think about that as you go through your life. Think about that as you deal with your relationship. Hey, thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed the show. This is Reggie Matter. Don't forget to check us out, man. Keep following, subscribing. Check us out on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, all that good stuff. I know it's a tough time right now, but you know what? You guys be strong, and I will definitely see you guys next week.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Straight Talk Show with Reggie Maddox. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our podcast to your friends and colleagues. And please leave us a positive review on iTunes. Be sure to check out our archive section on iTunes, Spotify, Libsyn, and YouTube. Join us next time for another edition of the Simply Straight Talk Show.